Hi friends! Don't ask me why, because I don't know, but I was thinking about scarecrows. Maybe it's because we had our first taste of fresh sweet corn last week. Last year, the birds were destroying the corn patch at my mom and dad's house, so they decided to use a modern day scarecrow, which is a noisemaker. They mounted a speaker to the side of the barn and played noises at regular intervals in order to scare away the birds. Well, it turned out that the most effective noise was that of a baby crying. But they had to change it after several of the neighbors either called or stopped by to make sure everything was okay. Scarecrows date back about 3,000 years. The Egyptians were the first to use scarecrows in recorded history in order to protect wheat fields along the Nile River from flocks of quail. Farmers installed wooden frames and then stretched nets over the frames. Then they would hide in the fields and then scare the quail into the nets and then take them home and eat them for dinner. Greek farmers carved wooden scarecrows to look like the god Priapus. The myth goes that Priapus lived near vineyards and he was supposedly so ugly that whenever he played in the vineyards, it scared the birds away and therefore improved the harvest. The Romans then continued to use the Priapus scarecrows. At about the same time as the Greeks and Romans, Japanese farmers made scarecrows called kakashis to protect their rice fields. The kakashis were shaped like people and dressed in raincoats and had a round straw hat. Often bow and arrows were added to make them look more scary. Native American tribes across North America used bird scarers, usually adult men who would make noise and movements and throw stones at birds to protect the fields. The Creek Native American families moved into huts in their cornfields to protect the crops during the growing season. The world's most famous scarecrow is probably the one in The Wizard of Oz by American author L. Frank Baum. In his first appearance in the book, the scarecrow reveals that he doesn't have a brain, but he would like to acquire one. The reality is that he already has a brain, but since he's only 2 days old, it's not quite developed yet. As the story unfolds, he demonstrates that he does use his brain and it grows along with his experiences. Toward the end of the book, the scarecrow is given the title, "The Wisest Man in Oz." And the wizard bequeaths the scarecrow the throne of Oz. The scarecrow is wise enough to know, however, that he has some limitations. And so he continues to credit the wizard for his brains, and he hands over the throne to the Princess Ozma, and he becomes one of her trusted advisors. We can learn an important lesson from the scarecrow. Psalm 8:5 says that God has made humans a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. But before we let that go to our head, we would do well to remember what the Apostle Paul writes in Romans 12:3. For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith God has assigned. Sometimes, maybe most of the time, the wisest thing to do is the most humble thing to do. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again soon.